Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second Cuban 8. Today we are going to talk a little bit about full wheel battles, and with us today is Lemsko, an avid full wheel battle player.
Not.
Or not. Well, there we
I
have it. Podcast
I
start.
only play full real battles because it's less evil of the things I can choose in the game.
Ah, I see.
That's a way to put it.
That's the
Yeah.
way to put it indeed. So yes, Lemsko, why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your past flight simulating experience?
Okay, then we need to start back in the 90s
Ooh.
with dogfighting in Knights of the Sky and Red Baron with zero modem cables, two PCs connected together. And then I went through the whole Aces series. When I discovered Warworks in 1998, we had to pay internet per minute,
Oh,
and
dear.
the game did cost per hour. And I discovered it on the big online arena. You were flying against real people. Yeah, it was a wonderful month until the first bill came in. My blood pressure went down, way down, because I knew that was the game bill. The telephone bill will still come.
Oh.
Okay, so I had to be very disciplined when flying, and I was only on a analog modem. So first I joined a bomber squadron,
Mm-hmm.
and we were flying mostly 2-engine or even 4-engine bombers in the arena. You had the goal of capturing airfields. You would destroy them with your bombers. Other people come in, land, capture the airfield until some side had won. And that was going on 24 hours every day.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So it needed around 1 year until the first flat rates came in. And you could afford to fly every evening.
Every day. Yeah.
So I wanted to become better because it's shark-infested waters, such online arena. You have a high percentage of real pilots playing this game. Also, a good part are real combat pilots, mostly US Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
True.
doing their flying in their free time, sitting on their carrier, having nothing to do, so they play online. So for the average player, it needed weeks until to score the first kill. You would die like a fly, evening for evening.
Yeah.
But that game had a trainer core. You had a special arena. Every evening there were people waiting for you to come and show you how to fly. And people were eager to come in and learn to fly. And of course, I bought Shaw's Fighter Combat book, and I got a bit into problems. Not my native language, English.
Mhm.
Then air combat is complex. It's hard to visualize just by talking. And even if I talk with friends in my native language, I use nearly my body. My hands, everything is moving
Yeah.
together with speaking
Mhm.
to explain the moves. So I already had some skills in 3D Studio. So I said to myself, okay, we need to find a form to visualize them language independent. We need videos, some short videos about the moves. So I rendered them, compressed them down, these small videos, to 1 megabyte or 1.5 megabyte size.
That's
So
unheard of today.
basically, in today's world, it would be animated GIF would have worked too, I would say.
Yeah.
And yeah, I put it up on a web page, and there people could use Real Media Player and watch these moves and get a picture of that, and are not depending on web page in foreign languages. And that was my entry into the trainer core.
Awesome.
Yeah, and from then on, well, it went less and less playing, more and more working for the game.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it, this map?
Yeah, it does sound familiar indeed.
I know he's not going to say it because he's not going to say it. But for those of you guys who are listening to this, if you guys think I know about air combat, this guy is like a Bible. I mean, when I started learning flying in a very similar way to Lemsko, I started in SSI, not in Warbirds, with flat rates. Back then it was $30 a month, which by today's standards would be like madness because we are flying basically for free in War Thunder. But back then it was like the new thing. It was one of the main attractions of SSI. It had flat rates. And back then I was in a very similar situation to his. I would go up thinking I knew something about air combat, and it took me, I think, 1 week to get 1 kilo. And it was lucky. I didn't really, I didn't really do anything to
Oops,
get
I
it.
shot somebody down.
Yeah, more or less it was like that. So I also got into, well, ran into some people who started helping me, and they gave me some tips and tricks, and one of them in particular took me under his wing and taught me a lot. But all of them, they talked about Warbirds and the people who were coming from that game to SSI, and there was a lot of material about Warbirds, and out of that material, Lemsko's videos was one of the main things that I used as a training tool. So I'm really excited to have him here because if I today know about air combat in online arenas, it's a lot because of him. So really, this is a guy you should, guys, listen really, really carefully because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and he's also often on the forum posting there. So if you ever see him there, read what he says.
Yeah, I think the main thing here is that with your background coming from Warbears, I'm surprised that you didn't never fly SSI, as far as I know, but whatever. The thing is that you are very committed to what's realistic flying, of course. And of course, you have a lot of hours in for real battles, even while you say you don't fly it anymore, no, or not as much as before. But why is that? Why have you stopped flying full real battles so much and started moving to historical battles more? Which are the reasons?
No, that's a wrong assumption of
Oh,
you.
I thought you
No.
flew for real mostly.
Well, first when I got invited to the beta of Warbirds, that was during the Eurocon last year. Dyron put me onto his computer, let me fly, and I got hooked. Of course, amazing graphics and a prosperous future with nearly unlimited possibilities. That's how Dyron advertised the game. Okay, I said to myself, okay, the plan for this year was buying a very good airbrush pistol, air compressor, and finally paint my 1 to 10 scale Lavochkin to get it up into the air. Yeah, result, after the Eurocon, I bought a stick, I bought track IR, and my Lavochkin is still not painted.
Oh, poor plane.
So you had icons, you didn't have full real in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so basically you had some kind of historical battles, arcade mix. And when full real battles came in, the first thing I noticed, the usual problem with iconless environments and physical correct approach is that you don't see anything.
Yeah.
And in War Thunder, it's nearly how pervertive. You see what you shouldn't see. You don't see what you should see. At very, very long range, no problem. The moment the dot turns into an aircraft shape, the game lacks any contrast against its background, and you can tweak whatever you want. You make you shift only the problem area a little bit away from your plane or a little bit closer, but you never remove it.
Mm-hmm.
So for air combat, I would prefer the historical arena. The historical arena I don't visit because of all options available.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have to change the style, how I fly. If I know how the other guy is set up, I know how I need to execute my maneuvers against him.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know that, I have to check that first. Because a normal defense move in a realistic setting, if I can assume the other guy is in a cockpit, doesn't work against the person in third-person view.
Of course.
Yeah, that's true.
You
So-
have to adjust distances, angles, and such stuff. And that ruins the gameplay for me.
I think you touch a really important thing here, which is visibility. Personally, well, everyone knows because I have said it a lot of times. I say I don't fly full real battles because I don't want to chase the dot, and because I don't want to. There are even times where in historical battles I'm aiming to the icon, not to the plane, because I can't see the plane. How do you think this could be addressed? I mean, not from a technical point of view, but do you think icons in a full real battle mode have their place, or they don't have?
No, they don't have. But it's a simulation. So its goal is to simulate reality. And if you know you can't achieve a realistic picture of the world, then you need to resort to tricks. You don't need to think in icons now. That's the most classical approach.
Mm-hmm.
But you could also simply exclude player-driven models from some environmental effects of the graphic engine.
For example,
That
clouds.
wouldn't enhance the contrast if the plane is extremely low to the ground. It would still have that fine camouflage where it's needed. But if you have a little bit distance to the ground, then your plane would be also much more visible against the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That should be an easy solution. I suggested also a kind of halo you can achieve against the sky already. If you use the post-FX sharpening tool, then you offset your graphic layers and you create a small bright outline to the plane shape looking against the sky. If you could get this outline also against the landscape,
Yeah, it would
that
change
would
a lot.
also help. And it would do it in a relative smooth way, not to interrupt the absolutely great graphics. I mean, in the historical arena, the icons are completely overloaded. First, I wouldn't want to see enemy names.
Absolutely.
It's an online game, and that's what I also criticize mostly. They don't have any feeling, you notice they don't have any experience in developing an online game. In an online game, you have to deal with players, with human beings. And online players will abuse any tiny loophole
Absolutely.
you produce. And that should be always your highest priority to avoid such situation. Or if they happen, you have to react fast to that. And that I absolutely don't see. It looks like they are still developing an offline game and look at us as a closed tester group which tests a not ready offline game. But that's not the case, and you can't sell it that way, and they don't do.
Mm-hmm. The thing here is that, as you say, players always will abuse the loophole.
Playing the system.
And
you need always to assume the worst. I mean, if I would be a physician and I'm still looking for the Higgs boson, I would do an online game and let them find it. They only need 24 hours.
Yeah, that could actually work. I can see that
Hey,
working.
let's write a suggestion about it.
Yeah. Next big
Uh,
topic in the suggestion box right there.
the thing here is, as you say, loopholes, but there are always going to be some loopholes. So, one way or another, because this is, after all, this is still a beta, or at least they are telling us it is a beta. But
Will always be. That's
yeah,
the nature of online games, because for an online community, if you stop putting in new content, you will fade away.
Yeah, slowly but
But
surely.
do you think is this is, I mean, it's obviously fault of the developer because they are leaving doors open for the people to abuse some mechanics. But do you think it's also something related to the community? Or the players and the players that are playing today, because
No,
personally
no.
I don't think that back in the day, in maybe it's because I remember those times with every
Nostalgia.
pastime was better, but I don't remember people abusing obviously broken mechanics in games which were still in development. I mean, when SSI was released, it was in a very raw state and there were a lot of things that weren't working like it should, but I didn't see people abusing that. So, do you think it's something about the players, or is something that is going to always happen and also happened back in the day? I mean, you are much more experienced that I am in online gaming, so maybe
Well,
I'm looking at things with a rosy color. I don't know.
I would say what has changed. First, we paid a good portion of money to be able to play. That was a good
Yes.
filter,
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
definitely.
But
You still had jerks, not in these numbers. And you also had to deal with cheaters. I mean, I still remember some Russian guy managing to trigger the IP packages between the Warbird server and his client and found out what area is for the weapon.
oh,
And then he put a 75mm gun into his tail gunner of his 110
What?
and was having fun.
What?
hey, that sounds like fun.
Oh, these Russians.
And I mean,
Craziest ideas.
we were here in this community, the term dweeb isn't known. Dweeb was the old flight sim equivalent of noob,
Yeah.
Mhm.
today's noob, but not that downgrading like noob. So we were all dweebs, all did dweebish things. I mean, in Warbirds, of course, it was too much fun to load up a B-70s full of drunken gunners, drop the bombs right after takeoff, climb, and then dive into the next fighter furball.
And so,
And just below it, you go straight up 19 degree and you have a Death Star. And slowly the B-17 goes to slower and slower, starts rolling around the wings and guns blazing in all directions into these turning fighters. Yeah, the crying was of course loud.
I think you're giving a lot of people good ideas here.
no, because in War Thunder still you can't have humans in the gunner position
Yeah.
while someone is flying.
Sad.
But in Warbears you could.
Could man every position you could.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
fantastic feature was you could attach another player to your cockpit.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
he would see what you were doing all the time while you were flying.
Mm.
That was a fantastic trainer feature.
Indeed.
And that I miss in the spectator view. I would love to see the other pilot's point of view. I did it a few times with exchanging replay files with us together when we did our instructional videos. The problem is when you run the replay file, since it's now your pilot, it's also named Lemsko in all messages.
Yeah.
So at the end, you have a video fighting Lemsko against Lemsko.
It's UBU. Face off.
Dividing by 0.
Yes, Dr. Sheldon Cooper.
Yeah, I also made that feature. It was a text command. I think it was .join or something like that. And if the guy accepted, because he would receive a request, if the guy accepted, you would see the first person view he was having. So you would be in the cockpit in his position, and you will see exactly what he was doing. So for for videos was great, but for training also was really good, because you would witness the things as he was doing them from the first the point of view of him. Is It was very advanced back in the day. I think it's missed in War Thunder. Something like that would help. At least my videos of combat tactics would help a lot, because right now you all depend on replays, which are not really good, to be honest. And
Yeah.
it's hard to. A lot of times people ask me how I do stuff, and that's because it's impossible to portray exactly what you are doing the way things are right now. So that's really something. It would be great in War Thunder.
I mean, it's okay as long as you can use different point of views for the same situation. I think that gives the best overview to people.
Yeah.
That you show it first from a perspective you have played the game, then one perspective from the attacker's point, which is all the time focused on the enemy, and then from the enemy's point of view. I think that's also the most important part, and the most surprising part when I'm watching my replays. I played the game, I have a general feeling how the game went. And then I look the replay and I see a complete different world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
70% I have completely misused at this situation. I haven't seen people. I wasn't aware of them. And where I thought, wow, I did exactly the right thing, pretty much luck was involved. And that you only see in the replays.
Yes.
So you
have a
always
complete
go back to
twisted, distorted vision in your cockpit. And when you're flying with other people together, never assume they see the same picture as you. Tell them what you see. Never assume they see the same and will act accordingly.
Yeah.
You need to tell them. And because of the spotting reasons, you need to talk a lot more than needed. I mean, back in that time, we didn't have any TeamSpeak. Roger Wilco was still in development when I started playing, so it was only typing.
It was
you communicated with typing.
So try to think flying 4 guys in the same formation just by typing. It was really complicated, really well, but it was also fun. I think those were the times.
You had to find people with your a similar mindset. My squad commander in JG3, I didn't need to communicate. I knew what he was doing.
Yeah. And I also think, and this is something I'm finding a lot when I fly with people. With Bismarck, I think you know this, because when we fly together, we don't speak a lot.
No, but you always ram into me.
No, it's you ramming into me.
You shot me down. You shot me down.
You shoot me.
Called me a bastard afterwards as well.
Stop it. This is the podcast. We'll discuss this later.
Fine.
Anyway,
Fine.
we don't really speak a lot, and we team up really well. Yeah. I think that people who have similar mindsets and fly exactly the same, they don't really need to speak a lot, because they happens the same with Foxu, another guy who I flies now and then with. Actually, we never flew with voice comms. We actually always fly with text comms, and it's more than enough.
Yeah, yeah. I think some people. I mean, I have one friend who. I mean, I've been friends with this guy since kindergarten, so we grew up together and so forth. And when we started getting into World of Tanks, we talk about normal life while we're just shooting at other people, and we know exactly what the other guy does. And he recently also came into War Thunder. And after the first couple of matches where I kind of helped him, telling like who to attack, when to disengage, and so forth, he's starting to do stuff by himself that I would say, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to happen. So it really, really
Perfect.
helps.
No, I think that is when you actually think about the well, nothing when you know about air combat and you know what you are supposed to do. You know the other guy is going to do the same. So if he's in a position, you recognize the position he's in, you know what he's going to do because you will do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So you can anticipate into that without even speaking.
Yeah,
So
but most of the time it's more like, oh my God, what is this
Yes,
guy
yes.
doing?
It's true. No, I had a
no, that's
battle actually.
99% of the times. Yeah, it's really strange to find a random who really flies the way you expect him to do.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, a few days ago, I had a very, very good Russian team on the fighting against them. I mean, those guys were in a squad. They basically um, queued up together, and I think we had like 8 of them in the other team, and you could really see that they were communicating together. The battle straight after, I happened to fly against them again. They queued up again at the same moment, and I managed to get into battle. And over chat, I tried to condition my team to, climb. First of all, climb. Then not to bandwagon on one single guy, to attack the guys who are, trying to climb up or trying to disengage and climb up and then come back above us and so forth. And it was really, really hard. I mean, to a degree it worked. We actually won that battle, but the amount of times you have to write into chat, please guys, not 4 against 1, and still they do it, and it can be really frustrating. It's
Really,
Yeah.
really a lot. I think we all have the same experience in
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I always each time I start a battle in historical battles, the first thing I write in chat is keyword climb, and even then people don't. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, you can't
Uh,
do anything.
I mean, nothing wrong if you stay low, but then stay as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yes. I mean, it's all about energy and knowing how to deal with it. But one thing is to stay lower. Another thing is to go at 500 meters. One thing is going maybe lower than the enemy. Another thing is just hack trees, which is kind of a different
Picking
thing.
flowers from the cockpit.
Yeah, more or less, just plowing the ground
Yeah.
with a propeller. So a little back into War Thunder. Of course, you fly mostly with joystick and realistic controls.
Yes.
Do you think there's that huge gap and difference and advantage to mouse and keyboard over joystick, as people say, or
Yes and no.
yeah, I think you are going to say exactly what I think. But go ahead, go ahead.
It's not the control method itself because mouse aim, I can outbleed you very easily, and when I watch all the videos of people steering with mouse, they will pull too many G,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
and I
Myself
can
as well.
exploit that very easily and then take the fight vertical. And of course, I have to hit them at the end, and they can still do good fish floppy moves at low speed. I'm always amazed. No, it's the combination. I would say the viewing options are the major pain, which cause the imbalance. Because not really the control method. I mean, mouse aimer doesn't have to worry about his plane falling out of the sky. The instructor will save him.
Mm-hmm.
He gives up performance for that because the instructor will never go over the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty much balanced. And the viewing options, the free available viewing options, then cause the imbalance. And it looks like mouse aimer would be the reason, but a mouse aimer will always be in third-person view anyway, or
Yes.
very rarely in cockpit view. That must be in strange kind of enthusiast.
No, I've actually heard people say, giving me advice because, well, no wonder my shooting is not really what it should be, to change views from third-person view to cockpit view just for shooting. But just, I mean, flying historical battles in cockpit with mouse and keyboard makes no sense. Let's face it. And I think it's. I told you before. I thought you were going to say what I think, and it's exactly that. Keyboard is an digital input. It's 0 or 1. If you push the elevator key, you have full elevator up. You don't have a middle ground. So joystick allows for much subtle
But you can
movements.
set up the keyboard to relative controls.
Yeah, but still it's really hard to establish a proper control on exactly how much you are pulling. So it's much easier, it's much more intuitive to do that with a joystick. So to do the actual maneuvering, I think joystick has the advantage. But to do the shooting, it's mouse and keyboard. You can aim with a degree of accuracy you can't with joystick. But I also think that there should be some, and I think, well, I was going to ask you, but I think you are going to say yes, about if there should be a game mode restricted to people with cockpit view and joystick and proper realistic controls in historical battles.
I mean, I don't understand why we need to discuss about that over such a long time. Every game, it's a principle of games that you can't have options which change the scoring.
Yeah.
I mean, I would earn up to three times more if I would switch to mouse and level up faster than with my masochistic cockpit full control approach in historical battles. If it would, but I get my enjoyment out of the flyings. Yeah. And to be honest, the best dogfights I remember, I haven't got the kill, or the other guy haven't got the kill. But we turned the table multiple times, we fought for minutes, and you had wet hands after the fight. I mean, there's my enjoyment. I get the adrenaline. I had a real good fight, a challenge.
Which I think is pretty much out of the culture of today. People don't look for a challenge. Everyone goes for the easy kill.
No, that's why people fly Beaufighters.
Yeah, only numbers count.
Yeah, everyone wants to see the kill
numbers,
tally.
Scoring, leveling up, but yeah, much like these endless grinding games, browser games my friends are playing, where I look and okay, he clicks 100 times the mouse. Very interesting. Oh my
god. Another thing that we would like to know is it's clear that you enjoy realistic flying, and it's kind of sad to see someone who likes so much that kind of style that you don't fly for real battles. Other than the view problem, which of course is probably the most important one, and probably some flight model issues, which all know about, what would you like to see changed in full real battles in order for you to move on to that game mode?
Well, currently I'm flying exclusive full real events.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, I like realistic scenarios, and I want only to see the planes who were there, or which I would have met in that period, and not only nation versus nation. That's for me simply the same concept like arcade or historical battle misses the point for real battles. For real events was a little bit that what I expected for real battles to be from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And well, what I don't like is, or I would have gone a completely different approach. I mean, they had no pressure when they started going public or closed alpha. They had nearly all the models, graphical models ready. Why not go with a much lower number of planes? Have the classical pairs for every nation to fight against each other ready. Fighter line, bomber line. Then you have a small number, you can concentrate. And then when you have the flight models for these planes ready, you have set a standard. And from then you go on.
Yeah.
Then we are back to the development of online games. And then you could still put in regular times stuff out, but putting stuff out which wasn't even tested before, and then creating such things like the UFO Lavochkin days of glory.
Don't you remember
and
that?
doing that 2 times in a row.
Don't you remember that? Oh, wow.
No, I mean,
I 2 times in a row was for me the sign.
Yeah, that's a problem. They got it totally wrong. Then they fixed it, and then one version later it was absolutely broken again. It made no sense.
Well, it sounds very much like what you said, Ram, in the last podcast when you said that Gadget at the moment is building the game from the roof instead from the bottom. That's basically what Lemsko said there as well.
I mean, I never participated in a closed beta where I didn't have one crash to desktop. Technically, it's a brilliant product. And then you have stuff where you think, did I save the money? Don't they have a game designer, which concerns should be gameplay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But gameplay seems to be extremely low in their priority lists. They produce a technical, very, very, very good product. When I was talking to Michael to breakfast, who made the American flight models, I said, remember the time when the Pentium came and the Voodoo cards? You suddenly had massive graphical power, and suddenly games were coming only relying on their graphics and completely lacking the gameplay behind.
Yeah.
And you had at least 1 year full of failure releases. And, well, games like Worms survived CPU generations on my hard disk.
Yeah.
If the gameplay is correct, then graphics don't matter. Graphics alone won't help you making a good game.
I think this is easy to see. There are a lot of indie games lately which don't have, I mean, they have totally outdated graphics, but they are so fun to play. So, but the thing is that it's not just about fun to play. I mean, if you're in a simulator, you don't want just to be fun. I mean, you want to be in a simulator. So it's kind of surprising that, I mean, it's kind of a recurring theme in this podcast. The broken fighter flight model.
I think that's our mascot now. That should be our mascot.
Yeah, it's yeah. After they fix it, we will still be speaking about broken fighter, so no worries. But the thing is, I have been here for 8 months and it still is broken. So you would say that the main thing that you would fix is the most broken things. That
Yes.
doesn't seem to be the case, and it's kind of surprising.
No, it's not. Yeah, broken flight models. Well, at least when they make these flight models, the viewfighter you still can beat with the roll rate. He isn't that maneuverable. Change your turn directions.
Yeah.
Skizzer him, make him slow. After that, outclimb him or outzoom him. I mean, there are ways around. It's annoying, and all these things are not that annoying and for real. I mean, other things annoy me. I have to make the graphics looking bad to be able to fly.
To see, yeah.
Yes, and still then, I had a duel with Killer Pilot. We flew for 2 hours. The deal was five runs. He in a LA, me in a Focke-Wulf A. And if I win 1 round, I would have won. It was about the broken LA5 FN flight model. Well, And in the forum, he said, well, LA5 doesn't matter. And first I thought I would nail him on that, because then I could have used my guns. We were flying for 2 hours, and in one run, I knew I don't have a chance. I always have to start the merge at least at 700 kilometers per hour to get the speed difference for a straight zoom up. There is no other chance. And then you have only one point where you can go down and try to get the guns on him. And every time I went vertical, I completely lost him. I knew where he was, but I didn't see him. And coming around, we simply passed each other. And that went on and on. And I mean, it's pretty boring if the only fighting window is above 650, where you can fight the other plane.
Because if you come closer, you don't see him. Yeah.
Yeah. But still then, I knew I could simply outfly him. After such long time, everybody gets exhausted. You just need to make him do something. And so, maybe you noticed in my videos that I rarely do circles. Everything is a spiral.
Yeah.
I always start very low G, very wide turn to get into my optimum battle speed. And then I slowly tighten up the turn. I do that slowly because I want to have him lead turn me.
And pull him more.
So I need to present him a reason to lead turn him. If I pull into him, he will see, oh, he pulls hard, I go up. I haven't changed my situation. So I want to give him the picture of getting the kill shot until it's too late. So while I'm picking up speed, he's also picking up speed. To cut the turn, he need to bank more than me. So watch him. And the moment he banks over 90 degree, I pull into him and pass him below, denying any horizontal maneuvering space. What does the pilot head in this moment do? He follows me, right?
Usually, yes.
He will try, yeah.
Yes, because losing sight and for real is losing fight. What is your hand automatically doing in that situation? It goes in the same direction, right? You are now even more banked upside down. One shot pull on the stick and both wings rip off. It's exploiting the game, sure. Because the Lavochkin pilot wouldn't have the strength to rip his
pull
wing
that match, yeah. That's because, of course, with a joystick you don't feel the stick pressures. And I think that's also something that we are missing in the game. A lot of planes are able to pull some insane, very high speed, high G turns because they are not pulling an actual stick.
And that you use against them. I mean, I can't count how many times I'm in a dive in a Spitfire or something that, and you don't even move the stick more than 1/10 centimeter, 2 centimeters, but you simply moved it a little bit too fast. Bang! Wings pop up.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, it happens quite a lot that you have a Spitfire on your sticks and you try to evade him and suddenly behind you you hear this and you know he's gone. Yeah. He's just bye-bye.
Yeah, there are some memorable cases of that online. Yeah. I remember especially one. Bismarck was crying. He couldn't breathe.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Oh, by the way, Bismarck.
Yes.
Yesterday I started watching your videos. I thought I had to be a little bit preparated for the interview, and I noticed something.
Go ahead.
Something Oz did also. I just was talking about that wide defense turn, no slow, pick up speed, and then merge, no slow. When you were attacking Spitfires and they break turn, you level out, zoom up.
Yes.
The normal Spitfire dweeb will continue his turn because he isn't good in mathematics. And 270 degree for him is shorter than 90 degree. But if you don't run into such Spitfire dweeb, the real Spitfire pilot would simply roll out of the break turn and try to follow you.
Yeah.
So don't simply level out with the wings. If he breaks left, you bank 30 degree right. You don't pull. That you don't change. Keep your zoom smooth. The banking angle alone gives you a right side spiral zoom. The Spitfire rolls around and now needs to go over more angles, bleeding more energy. So he doesn't get that many shots on you as you receive in the videos.
Yeah. That's actually really, really true.
And that's the kind of stuff I'm telling you guys. Listening to this guy is learning.
Listen to the guys who know the stuff, seriously. I mean, now that you say it, it's crystal clear, but yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of things in air combat. Air combat is really complicated, but a lot of things are very simple. And they usually mean the difference between life and death. Another thing I would like to ask you, Lems, and that's just out of War Thunder. It's in general. What's your favorite plane and why?
My favorite planes are many, and all of them have radial engines, and that's the reason why. When I first went to Duxford Air Show, Battle of Britain, there was this full line of fighters, P-51s, all kind of Spitfires, Hurricanes, these Buffon 109s with the Merlin engines, and there were also the P-47. And when I was visiting vintage car shows in the 50s, German car designers made copies of American cars, but in European size. And now today in vintage shows, you see the American original and the German copy standing side by side, and it looks like you look at one car and a scale replica. And the same impression you get with these fighters. There's the P-47. It's a big bad ass. And then you have toy planes left and right. Yeah, and then all start their engine, except the P-47. All inliners. They take off. You get that whistling sound. It's like visiting a Dire Straits concert. And then the P-47 starts its engine.
Oh, yes.
And you are in a Dead Kennedys concert.
Yeah, the glorious sound of engineering.
So, radial engine plane. So I'm guessing P-47, Corsair,
Real
and
men
Focke-Wulf.
fly radials.
That's what they say. That's what they say. However, I have to say my favorite plane ever is the Focke-Wulf Dora, and I don't care it has an inline. It's the best plane ever. But whatever. Moving on to that kind of question, which model of plane would you enjoy seeing added to War Thunder, which is not yet in the game?
The Macchi 205.
Oh, really surprising. That's a surprising one.
No, that was my entry into the game industry. My first model I made for Warbirds. I'm currently constructing a radio-controlled Macchi.
What about the Lavashkin that still needs painting?
Yeah, that doesn't hinder me to construct my own plane in 3D Studio, but the playing hinders me a little bit. War Thunder ruined my plans in that area because it's cheaper to crash the plane in the monitor than in reality.
True, yeah.
radio-controlled planes flying. That's like playing EVE Online in full real. You build the plane and you need to consider a dead crashing, flying. Yes.
So the Veltro, that's a kind of interesting choice. I'm guessing you would go for the 20mm version, of course.
No.
No?
No, doesn't need to have 20 millimeters. Would be fine and easy. It's the look. I mean, the Mackeys are 109s, which Italians made extremely sexy.
Yeah, they are 109 in Ferrari version. It's the way I like to call it. It's actually surprising because, in my opinion, the plane I want to see added to War Thunder the most after the D9 is confirmed is going to come in the next version is the G56. The version of the G55 Centauro with a Daimler-Benz 609. I think that thing outperformed even Mustangs in 1943. So would be a kind of really cool premium plane because there was only one, but that would be really nice. And as for nations, would you? Which nation would you like to see in a separate trip first? France or Italy?
Italy.
Why?
I'm biased.
At least he's honest. At least he's honest.
Yeah, at least he's not hiding it. So that's really cool to know. And one last question, and we will wrap it up because this has been a really long interview and a really enjoyable one.
Yes.
With Ground Forces coming, how do you think the game is going to change in regards to the tactics we are used to seeing in both historical battles and for real battles?
Well, I still have no clue how they want to combine both forces. We will have to see. Well, don't expect intelligent ground forces when player control them. Assume the worst. I can't say
assume
more.
the worst, hope for the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing, I mean, would you expect a little difference from the meta game we see right now, which is all, I mean, climb, and the higher you climb, the better. And would you enjoy it more than what we see today in War Thunder?
Well, climb. That's the mindset of the limited.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, if a hammer is your only tool, then all problems become to look like nails, right?
Well. For the record, I'm in record in this same podcast last week saying that altitude is not everything. So
no,
whatever.
No, I would even for improving your flying, I would suggest to put yourself into disadvantaged situations often. You learn more by dying.
Well, if you want to learn, that is.
Well,
if you want to learn, if you want to train a move and perfect it. So, I mean, I came with my set of standard moves from not flying at all for 8 years.
Yeah.
And, of course, I had to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Distances are different, timing is different, and such stuff. And you need to repeat that. The less you need to think about flying, the more you can think about the guy you are fighting. The thing is, when I'm doing duels against Oz or something like that, it's either we don't hit each other for minutes. We had even duels where we had to abandon because our fuel tanks went dry in a duel. And the moment one guy gets a hit on you, especially in a P-51 Focke-Wulf duel, at least 50% of the concentration is now only on flying the plane.
Mm-hmm.
and not on the enemy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that decides these fights. So it should be always. I mean, I don't fly mouse aim or simple joystick control. I always fly full control.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not getting hit at all. That is my goal in an airplane. Since every hit ruins my performance, or I am lucky, okay, if it isn't a critical, but I don't want to rely on luck.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fortuna is a nice lady sometimes, but she can be a real bitch.
Yeah,
that's actually a difference it makes instructor. That's another thing I failed to mention before. Instructor corrects a lot of the problems with flying a damaged plane. It does it for you, so you can focus on the other guy when you should be focusing on flying a plane which is really hard to fly.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, it's you in air combat. What do you need? You need fast reaction. You need a good analytic overview of your surroundings. And you need to be able to think ahead. That's why I like energy fighters. I mean, and in most air combat moves, you need to combine them. Or like in chess, you think 3 moves ahead.
Yeah.
If I start with lower energy in a Focke-Wulf against a Spitfire or co-energy, I can't expect to turn the tables in 1 move.
Yeah, you have to do a series of steps to achieve that reversal of roles to come to the offensive. Yeah. Basically, I think that what you like is the control style. I mean, where you are in control, in the plane that allows you to guide the fight towards the way you want it to go. Not every plane can do that. Only a particular kind of plane can do that. Boom and Summers in particular. Is would that be right? I mean, that idea that some planes allow you to stay safe while you are in a disadvantage, but eventually, if you plan ahead properly, without any way for the enemy to avoid it, turn tables on him.
Yeah, of course. Energy fighters keeping you alive. It's a world of attrition. And you can't have your eyes everywhere. And in turning fights, all the eyes of involved pilots are inside the circle. They are all pointing into the center of the circle. And I mean, if you have flown aces high, and you remember back, if you would have used a camera zoom out of the arena, you would have pulks of fourballs of turning planes, and you would have like a swarm of herrings, and you would have dolphins
diving into it
above and around this swarm of herrings and doing their diving attacks and picking up prey. Of course, in such environment, it's the safest way to keep your pilot alive, which means no repair cost.
And means not getting shut down, of course, which is kind of the actual focus of the game, in my opinion. Not getting as many kills as you can, but going back alive.
That's my first goal in every mission. Usually in my first missions I fail miserably, and usually I die without a dogfight, without even having seen the enemy, and that embarrasses me that much that I remember what I should have done, and from then on I fly realistic again. But as I said, we are all dweebs, we are all doing dweebish things.
Indeed.
And in the end, I think we all are having fun as well, which is also the point, kind of.
Yeah, we need that fun.
Okay, Lem, I think
join up in squads. I can tell everyone, join up in squads.
Yes, it makes a difference.
It gives such new dimension of game if you're coordinating, flying together, and
Yeah.
these airplanes are team weapons.
Yeah,
Also,
They
it's
are
not,
not
true.
acrobatic solo planes, and not most of them aren't.
it's nice to know that you have someone who's going to cover your ass when you totally blew it. So,
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
every time I feel down in the game, when I play bad or when I'm having a bad run for a couple of days, I just join up with a couple of guys and it instantly fixes stuff. You can just
Yes.
it really is so much better just flying with somebody who you can rely on, and even if you don't know each other so much as we said before, basically soulmates in the sky where you know what the other guy is going to do. Even just talking to those guys and telling, I have somebody on my six, can somebody help me? It helps so much instead of always spamming T4 to call for cover and nobody ever comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I miss, or what extremely rarely happens here in game, we had in the beginning the talking out what is different from yesterday's world to today's world. The good fight. You had a real good
Yeah.
fight, and you don't get a salute, a snappy salute, or a good game or good fight. And at the beginning, I let my enemies fly away, smoking, trying to save their plane.
Hmm.
But
Not any longer.
Yeah.
no. Well, the sky, Knights of the Sky, that's a myth.
Yeah.
Chivalry is dead.
It was true back in the day, not anymore. That's true. I also have left some in the very early stages when I was flying Eastern Galvatas. I also let some smoking enemies go away. Not anymore,
Yeah.
because right now in Warzone there is big fish eats little fish. So I mean, there's no room for chivalry. Now and then there is actually. If there's just one
Well,
guy
sometimes
alive
you
in the
see
enemy
it.
team.
Some really times you see it, and it just brightens up your day. I mean, I've seen it once or twice happening. Somebody actually let me go once when I lowered my gear. I lowered my gear by accident. He was right behind me, and he just let me go.
That's nice.
I mean, I had never seen that
Great.
before.
Okay. So
But yeah.
it's only my own perception
No, I
and
mean that was once in maybe I don't know how many battles I have registered at the moment, but I guess
No,
together
that
with
you
Arcade, it's like within the 7 or 8 thousand. So it
you see
happens
that kind of
once.
thing in a full moon when Saturn is aligned with Mercury, Venus, and the Sun,
Yeah.
and when naked witches are dancing around the fire. So it just happens once each 1,000 years, but it happens now and
Yeah.
then. Yeah, actually, I have
yeah.
seen it as well.
Very
There is
rare.
very little of that, but still there is little. There is a little, so now and then it happens. So, well, I think this is going to be it for the interview because it's going really, really long.
Well,
Yeah, and
it's been really good actually. I mean,
But
I'm surprised
however,
that
I,
people would be listening so long to
Um,
our bubble.
they should. They should. I mean, this. I can honestly say this has been 1 hour and 10 minutes so far. For me, it has felt like 5 minutes. It's been so entertaining and so interesting.
well,
I would have thought you would ask me more air combat related questions.
Yeah, the problem about the air combat questions is, as you say, it's very hard to describe things in words. You really need pictures or images or videos. So I rather wanted to focus the interview more in your thoughts and your experiences and that kind of stuff.
well, that being
Um,
said, actually, when Lemsko just gave me that little tip, I actually wrote it down and I made a little picture, and it's right next to my monitor of big letters saying "Remember." So
yeah, but you got the descriptions out from a video you made, so the image is already in your mind. It's not hard to picture it. But
true.
for the average listener, he won't be able to picture it so accurately. So air combat moves. I'm actually thinking, Lem, in if you don't mind, I would love to have you in some of my training videos to do some
Yeah,
stuff and
sure.
describe some things because that would be really, really, really nice. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We will discuss it in some other time. In the meantime, really, thanks a lot for being here.
I enjoyed it very much too.
One
Same
big bag
here.
of experience sitting right there, guys.
Oh yes, oh yes, and I can say that this has been really exciting for me. For so long, I have been following your work, and finally, I got you speaking to me. That's really nice. So thanks a lot for coming, Lem.
Well, I love it that people still fly with my 3D models or drive them in GTR 2. I mean, after so many years, that makes me proud. People still using old, outdated games.
That means it's good.
Yeah.
There's no other
Yeah,
way
I
out of
think
that.
so.
Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't happen. Thanks a lot for coming, Lem.
Thanks, you.
Really,
Okie dokie.
really a pleasure to be
See you in the unfriendly skies.
here. See you.
So that was Lemsko, a very knowledgeable pilot. And obviously, as you guys notice, he's basically a walking encyclopedia when it comes to air combat. Moving on in the topics, we are going to talk a little bit about ground forces. There has been announced that the beta is upcoming. However, it will be a closed beta, meaning there are, as you probably noticed on the forums, certain kinds of let's just say how they said it, and that's achievements that you can earn that will then increase your chances of actually getting access to the beta. Now, there has been quite a lot of response, of course, from the community, and we're going to talk about it here as well. First of all, Ram, what do you think about this?
Well, my take on it is that if I was the one making the goals, I wouldn't make achievements for people to get in. I would get applications for people who know about the tanks and, well, get them into the beta to properly test the tanks. But I'm guessing that probably they have already tested the tanks with the alpha tester group, and that they want to do is to test the gameplay. So I don't really know. I would be interested, but actually the achievements they are looking for is nothing that I'm really looking forward. So still, the option is there for people to try if they want to get into the closed beta. The interesting thing is that they announced that it's not coming before December.
Yeah.
So it seems that finally tanks are not coming in November as we expected. Well, I guess they took a little bit more to develop them than what we thought, isn't it?
Well, that can be a good thing. If they have to try it out of more in detail, let's say. Of course, a lot of people were a bit disappointed. You can see that on the forum. A lot of people thought it would come in November and have already been in the past couple of days before this was announced, have been posting on the forum now, where are tanks? We thought they were coming in November. I don't really know if this achievement thing is a good thing. I mean, I tried playing. I must admit, I did the first achievement because I had the time. I had disposable time on yesterday, but if I don't think I can go on with doing the achievements every day, and it's kind of sad because I of course want to have access and give feedback on the game and try to get what I know about tanks and give feedback on that and see how the game is, but increasing my chances of getting in not by just sending in an application saying what I know, but by playing the game, showing my commitment to the game. I don't know. I think you can show your commitment in various ways, and that is not just playing the game. And I'm not sure if they're on the track, but I do believe that everybody has a chance to get in, and that making these achievements only gives you an increased chance, as well as being able to win some kind of goodies. I think they said some T-shirts or something. I don't know if anybody is interested in that. I personally am not, but
Same here.
it might be something for a few guys. I don't know. But yeah, that is basically the big announcement there on the side of ground forces. I'm very, very surprised, to be honest. I didn't expect this coming, and I was really thinking that it would be different. As you said.
No, I actually didn't expect for a closed beta. I thought they would release it directly.
I thought so as well. And I mean, you have a lot of people that know a lot of things about tanks, and with these guys potentially having to fight to get access, I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, you have people, even on YouTube, you have Sidestrafe who knows a lot about armored vehicles and tanks. Mm-hmm. If this guy has to fight to get into the closed beta,
I mean,
I don't know.
he should be number one in there.
Yeah, he
Um,
should be, but
that's the thing. You would say that what you want in a closet beta is people who know about tanks. Instead, you are getting people who bomb a lot of tanks in arcade mode with the
yeah,
bombers. That's one of the achievements. That's yesterday's achievement.
yeah,
Um,
it
so
was
that's
horrible.
my guess is that probably the closed beta has nothing to do with the actual performance of the tanks.
Mm.
Those things probably are already tested, but probably with the gameplay. But again, what kind of game? I mean, what kind of knowledge about tank tactics has someone who's scored 30 tank kills yesterday?
Well, he knows
I
how to
mean,
kill them
uh, he knows how to get them in a
yeah,
bomber,
in a
but doesn't
bomber
mean he knows how to drive a tank.
or in a
So
fighter.
I don't really feel it's well. The thing is, and I think that's somehow really good, is that they are giving everyone a chance, which is some kind of democratic, let's call it socialism in gameplay and closed beta. That's nice that everyone has a chance, but I think that to properly test something before release, you want people who really can offer something more than just hours of gameplay
Yeah,
in front of the computer. But well, I mean, it's their decision. They will have their reasons to do it this way. So
I
it
guess.
is what it is. So, guys, if you want to get into the closed beta, take a look at the forums every day because the achievements are going to be up there.
Indeed. Now, moving
And
on in our program, we have, of course, the comments that you guys gave us on our
yep,
previous podcast. I'm going to start with the first one here, since I didn't have any in the last time, and
yeah, go
RamJP
ahead.
basically made holes out of me with his questions. The Ulrich 89. Did I just say that in a strong German accent? I don't know. Anyway, the Ulrich
A little
89. He wants to know Bis and Ram. Well, we're gonna ask you first, Ram. We all know your first favorite plane, but what about your second and third? Which one of those and why? Go ahead,
Well,
Ram.
actually, I got this same question in my video as well.
Oh,
Yeah, well, the first one is obviously the Focus 180.
mm-hmm.
Everyone knows, so that's given. Second and third, I don't have a second and a third. I would say that I have four planes that are more or less at the same level in my list of favorites. Um, and quite funny, they are all radials. So I guess, as Lemsko said, real men fly radials. The P-47D is one of my all-time favorites. No wonder about that, and it's a fantastic plane. Hawker Sea Fury, and alternatively the Hawker Tempest 2, which was actually Sea Fury was an analyzed version of the Tempest 2 with a little bit of changes, but more or less was the same plane. And ironically, because it's not a plane that a lot of people know, it's Italian, the Reggiane 2000,
Yes.
which was a surprisingly good Italian fighter, which was not widely used by the Italian Air Force, was actually exported to some countries and did really good and give a very good account of itself. People liked it. Pilots liked it a lot. They called it. It was kind of the Italian P-47
Yeah.
to make a comparison. And finally, the Corsair.
Yes.
It's one of those legendary aircraft. I got hooked into its looks in this TV show about the Black Sheep Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
That gull wing, that inverted gull wing, is characteristic. It's a beautiful plane, and I simply love it. So it's not that I have a second or a third. It's that all those four planes come more or less at the same level after the Focus 190. What about you, Bismarck?
Well, first one, of course, you guys know it. It's Rosalinde, Magda, the Anton series of the Fokker Wolves. The second one, please, guys, please don't kill me, but it's the La 5.
Die.
I
Go
will La
rot.
5, La 7. It's such a beautiful thing. Yes,
I
yes.
mean, I like flying the thing, but well, whatever. Yes.
And the third place always changes. I had a couple of things in there. I had the Hurricanes on third place actually for some time. P47 as well. Of course, the BF109s are constant contender there. Yak 3. I don't know. It constantly changes. Whatever I just feel like flying and I fly it, I have a good time in it, and then I say, "Yep, this is my number 3," and then I choose another plane, and it's yep, no, that one is number 3 now. So yeah, it constantly changes. The La 5, as I said, it's mostly about the looks and the firepower. I think it very, very much suits me as well in War Thunder at the moment. Of course, I'm flying with mouse aim, and being able to land those hits with those two cannons is just so satisfying. Of course, I want to see it with a good flight model and not the flight model that we had a couple of patches ago, because that is just atrocious. That is just
Yeah,
insult to the
that was
plane.
retarded.
Yeah.
From the Soviet planes, I think in my opinion, the one I like the most is the Jak 9U. It's actually coming. That's fast.
Yes.
The, extremely good performer, very nimble, very good fighter, good weaponry. Probably had it all except for one thing. It was too light for be a proper woman swimmer. But that one I think is going to be a favorite of a lot of people when they try it.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that
So
answered your question. The Ulrich 89. Ram, do you have any question for me or you as well? Then I guess.
yeah, I actually have one which is suggesting that we should, instead of putting the podcast in both channels at the same time, that we should be swapping
Mm.
um, turns. So I put it 1 week, then the next week you put it on your channel, then the next one in the in our. I don't know. I think that putting them up in both channels is good for because we don't necessarily have the same subscribers. I don't know.
I think for the first couple of podcasts we should have it at both, just to get exposure. This is just me thinking and trying to get out there, trying to get the podcast out into the community, and then maybe later we can do it one on each channel when people know about it. But for now, I think to establish the Cuban 8 as a podcast, we should have maximum exposure. And it's probably true that a lot of your subscribers are my subscribers and vice versa. I mean, I'm basically less than yours, half of your size. So most of my guys will probably be on your side, and they will probably. I mean, they will see it on your
But
channel.
quite probably we have separate audiences as well. So we have, of course, a core of people who will be probably in both channels, but probably there are people in your channel that they are not in mine. So I think the thing is to, as you say, reach the bigger audience possible. So that's the idea of putting them at the same time. Yeah, well, we could even do it that way. Also, another question is if we are we are thinking about putting this podcast in iTunes, which I think is a very good idea. But first, we have to, at least I have to figure out how to properly do it. But yes, should be a good idea. So, and actually, the idea of the podcast initially was also to release it in a proper podcast format, but first we have to figure out how.
Yeah, that's first, of course. I mean, our videos are quite long, and as you guys who are still listening at this point notice today, they can drag on for a long time because both Ram and me are very enthusiastic about talking to people from the community. And I mean, listening to Lemsko, you guys heard it. I didn't speak much because I just enjoyed listening. I don't know if that's a thing for everybody, sitting in front of the screen for the time that we have until now already and listening in. And that's also one of the reasons why we're definitely trying to get an MP3 format out there as soon as possible. But we have to figure out how. And of course, the time zone difference between us doesn't help. I'm 8 hours in front of Ram, and it complicates things. Even just to plan the podcast itself, it complicates things. And we are going to do it, guys. Just bear with us for now. It's a little bit of a logistic problem, and we are getting that sorted as soon as we humanly can.
Exactly.
I have one more question. One more question, Ram.
Go
Tigre
ahead.
Shark, he wants to know what historical battle, air or land would you like to see Gadget reenact as an event, and what setting would you like to use, or would you use for it, like the map, the game mode, team selection, aircraft, objective? Go ahead.
Operation Boldeplat. The 1st of January attacks on the Ardennes airfields of the 2nd Tactical Air Force, where basically Germany shot its last bolt. The Luftwaffe stopped being a cohesive force afterwards.
Stop being an air force.
Was a big failure from every point of view, but makes for a really interesting setup. I think that
are
one
the
would
German AA guns going to shoot at German planes? Can I just ask that?
well, hopefully not, because if I die because a friendly AA gun shoot me down, which actually has happened in War Thunder to me, by the way.
Really?
So, yeah. Not in historical battles. Back when I was playing only arcade battles, more than once and more than twice, I got shot by my own AA guns, yeah.
Oh,
that could happen.
Yeah,
that could happen.
For me personally, I would actually say the Winter War, Finland against the Soviet Union. Very early warplanes. Of course, the Finnish Air Force, there are Russian planes in there as well. They captured a few, the ones that they could down and salvage. I would like to see something like this. Very early planes, and planes that probably many people haven't also heard about. And that would be interesting for me, because I actually like early warplanes.
Yeah, that would make for an interesting. Also, not just because it's an interesting setup, because it is, but because it's so unknown.
Yeah.
Very few people know about that, so it would be really refreshing something like that.
Also,
of course, before anything else, of course, something I would love: Civil War scenarios, Spanish Civil War.
Spanish War, yes.
We have the planes, so
we have the planes already, yes. And I think there was an event or something about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, but it was one of those.
Versus
yeah, but it was one of those events when where you got bonuses for getting shots, people shot down in those planes.
Yes. Okay.
Not a proper scenario, not a proper event.
Yes.
With the planes, but that would be lovely to see.
Yeah. Good.
So yeah, that's it for the questions, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't have more at the moment.
I think that what we don't really have is any more time.
Yes, because now we're definitely over the time that we always try to get this within 1 hour, but we failed miserably today.
No, believe it or not, guys, when we started talking, Bismarck and I, about this podcast, we were thinking about a podcast of maybe 30 minutes. But, well, as you see, plans not always go according to the initial idea. Indeed. But I think the interviews are really interesting, and well, I hope at least people enjoy listening at them.
Awesome. Right, that rounds us up for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, if you're still listening at this point. And as always, good hunting, see you in the sky, and goodbye from me.
As always, guys, thank you very much for listening to this mammoth podcast, and see you later.